Hello everyone, this is POW Ponder on Weather. In this update, we're going to be talking about a strong cold front that's going to bring some heavy rain and some severe weather out ahead of it, but back behind it, some really nice weather taking shape for the rest of the week. So if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. This is Monday, September the 20th. And what we're looking at here is an overall pick of the U.S. And man, we've got a very strong cold front to be working with for as we get into fall. It's already passed a lot of the areas in the Pacific Northwest, and you can definitely see back behind it, we've got lots of 30s and 40s showing up on the map. So this is definitely a welcome sight. But out ahead of it, we're going to have to be dealing with some heavier rains and some severe weather out ahead of this front. And this will continue diving southeast as we go throughout the week. But back behind this front, it looks really nice for several days, at least back behind the front. So we've got a lot to look forward to after this front clears your area. So let's take a look at the precipitation for the last 3 days. So here's the overall rain amounts for the last 72 hours. You can see the rains did verify in the Pacific Northwest of anywhere from 1 to 3 inches. It was back-to-back record rainfalls for Portland, and even Northern California got some welcome rain over the weekend. Out ahead of it, man, we still have the remnants of Nicholas that we were dealing with an upper level low that dumped not just heavy rain, but flooding rains in a good chunk of the southeast where they're just keep getting inundated. Even portions of western Tennessee yesterday picked up almost double digits of rainfall over the weekend, just from the remnants of Nicholas that they're still dealing with in that area. So moving forward, let's take a look at the hazard map for today. We've got the red flag warnings out here with some windier conditions out in Northern California. But what is this blue showing up on the map? That is a freeze watch. We haven't seen that in a long time, right? That is a taste of fall that's knocking on the door with some freezing conditions in parts of Wyoming and as well as Colorado back behind that front. So this front definitely means business. Out ahead of it, we're still got those flash flood watches to be dealing with from the remnants and that upper level low that just from Nicholas that just doesn't want to go away until that front moves through. That's going to be able to clear the air out. But before that, we've got to actually have heat advisories in West Texas out ahead of it as we really start to heat up before the cold front that's going to be moving through like say Tuesday morning for Texas. But you may have noticed, why does it actually, really start to warm up big time before a cold front? So this time of year, it's more prevalent in fall and spring. You get what they call compressional warming or compressional heating. So some areas, you can see a depiction here. It's based on elevation. So whenever you got it's 4,000 elevation up in El Paso, as the cold front pushes down from the north, you've got southwest winds developing, and that kind of creates a squeeze play. As it squeezes, the air starts to compress. As it compresses, it warms, and it can quickly spike. So sometimes ahead of fall fronts or spring fronts, you get that quick, rapid warm up because of the compressional warming or compressional heating aspect. So yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions, hey pal, why does it always warm up, ahead of the cold front? It seems to be the hottest temperature before the cold front. And a lot of times it's due to that effect of that compressional heating. And so that's actually what's going to take place today. If we zoom in to Texas, out ahead of that cold front, we've got triple digits, and some of these could be breaking records today because of that compressional heating aspect of the air compressing as we get into peak heating of the day. For example, DFW hit 94 yesterday. Now we're calling for 101 potentially at peak heating right around 4 o'clock. It won't stay there for that long, but it could potentially spike, a quick spike over a 1 or 2 hour period. and quickly hit a triple digit temperature, which is fairly rare for this late in the season for September the 20th. But yes, it could happen today and parts of Texas, and that's why they've got that heat advisories out here. It could spike to 104, 105 is not out of the question. So as we move forward for the rest of the country, like I mentioned, out ahead of it, there's that cold front. We could have some snow flying back behind it in portions of Idaho as well as Montana today. That's definitely not out of the question as that cold air continues to drain in. Out ahead of it, we are going to be dealing with some nasty weather as far as severe storms and portions of Iowa, Minnesota, as well as Wisconsin here. And there's the flash flood watches taking effect with those heavier rains for portions of the southeast. But there's your severe weather coming up later on today. So yes, parts of Madison into Des Moines, into Cedar Rapids, going into Davenport, even into Rochester's not out of the question to see some of those strong to severe thunderstorms out ahead of it. And then the bullseye here in the middle, yes, you could be seeing an isolated tornado threat as well, as that instability will be tapped into ahead of that cold front. But man, back behind it, it really looks nice, guys. It really does. And I'll show you that here to come. But here's the temperatures for today. You can notice the colder temperatures filtering in, draining in. Some of the higher elevations, not out of the question. You could be seeing some snow flying in parts of Idaho into Montana, getting into Wyoming. Definitely not out of the question. Yeah, there's the heat, that quick spike out ahead of the front. Potentially 101 in Dallas. That's why they've got the heat advisories in West Texas, 104, 105, depending on the exact timing of that front. I mean, even Oklahoma, some of these records, I know Dallas is 102 today. Oklahoma City, the record's 100. So we're talking near record heat ahead of that cold front. But man, after the cold front, temperatures are going to rapidly fall in a big way. So by the time we wake up into Tuesday morning, that cold front is knocking on the door into North Texas and going to feel a welcome relief. In fact, your high temperature is probably going to be at midnight. And then it's going to be falling all throughout the day during the day tomorrow. And we could be looking at 60s by the time you put dinner on the table, 6, 7 o'clock. So yeah, there are going to be rapidly falling temperatures throughout the day. But out ahead of it, you've got those stronger storms to contend with. Notice the clearing back behind it. There is not a drop in sight with the lower dew points. So it's going to feel really nice. Some beautiful weather really coming up on the backside from this after this cold front. Just pushes all that muggy air out of the way. So we're still dealing with that heavier rains. Unfortunately, it doesn't look rainy in Dallas. There's not that much moisture to work with by the time the cold front taps into that area. But to the north, you could be looking at higher potential for rain and some heavier rains into Indiana, going into portions of Ohio, as well as portions of Michigan here as this continues pushing off into the southeast. There's Peter that formed yesterday, but it's going to be remaining well offshore because of that cold front. It's going to keep it well offshore. As soon as it meets that cold front, it's going to whisk it out to sea, and eventually it will peter out. I had to do it, guys. So now let's look at Tuesday. There's your high temperatures. Like I mentioned in Dallas, that 82 is kind of misleading because that's probably going to be a midnight type temperature, and temperatures going to be falling through the 70s, if not the 60s, by the time you for dinner. But back behind it, look, I mean, there's your high temperatures, some 60s, even 50s showing up on the map. But yeah, out ahead of it, there's that warm sector of 90s and 80s still prevalent in the southeast. But man, we've got that cold front that's going to be knocking on the door. There's the cold front by Wednesday. How often do you see that? A cold front making it all the way down past Brownsville. So no one's going to miss out on this, guys, in Texas and Louisiana as this continues to press. But man, look at the clearing back behind it. It's just the several days of really nice weather and not muggy weather either. We're talking a lot drier weather and less humidity. It's going to feel really nice. It's patio weather for sure. Definitely, if not some chillier weather coming up for portions depending on how far north you live. But there's the temperatures as you wake up on Thursday morning. Look at all those widespread 40s and 50s showing up on the map. That is nice, and everybody's going to get into the action. Look at Texas. It's hard to find even a 60 showing up on the map. These are low temperatures by the time we get into Thursday, September 23rd, and that colder air just continues to press into the southeast and into the Ohio Valley. So 40s into Indiana, Illinois and Indiana here, as well as Ohio. So everybody gets into the action with this cold front by the time we get into Thursday. But like I mentioned, back behind it, there's the dew points. We're so used to seeing the 70s, right? In much of the South and the Southeast, and the dew points, the only dew points are higher in Florida because it hasn't hit the cold front. And unfortunately, it probably won't make it to you guys, a good chunk of Florida. But back behind it, man, look at that. All that dry air. I mean, 40s showing up in Texas, 30s in West Texas. That is going to feel really nice, and it's going to be going to take all the mugginess out of the air, and it's just going to feel like, oh, such a relief after a warm summer, if not a hot summer for many. So as we continue through Thursday, there it just clears the air. I mean, you can definitely see where the cold front is, right? It makes it all the way into Georgia, even in the Carolinas. It stalls, it more or less stalls into, it reaches the panhandle of Florida, but it doesn't make it all the way into Central and South Florida. You can definitely see where it more or less stalls out, but out ahead of it, they're still gonna have to be dealing with those rain and some stronger storms out ahead of it, now impacting the mid-Atlantic states and eventually getting into the Northeast by the time we get into that Thursday. There's your temperatures, your high temperatures, or sorry, your low temperatures for Friday morning as you wake up. Still widespread 60s, even Houston 61, right? I mean, San Antonio 59. That's nice stuff, guys. And yeah, the colder air continues to drain in. When it's a dry air, it cools quickly at night, and it's going to warm up a little bit by the day as those winds start to slowly turn around. But we've got 3 or 4 nice days of really nice weather back behind that cold front, depending on where you live. And man, look at the temperatures in the southeast. 50s, yeah, sign me up, right? I mean, that is some nice stuff for the southeast as we get into the first initial days of fall. So as we continue through the day on Friday, man, there's the cold front, right? I mean, back behind it, there's just not a drop in sight. It's really nice weather back behind it. It's going to feel really nice after the front comes through, but there's the cold front. It couldn't quite make it into Central Florida, but because of that, you're still in the warm sector, and you still got all the rain to contend with along that stalled frontal boundary. But by the time we get into Friday, there it is along the 95 corridor, pushing off and eventually pushing off into the East Coast. There's Peter. As it meets that cold front, it's going to whisk it out to sea. And as we continue, as we wake up for your Saturday morning, by the time we get into September 25th, the winds start to turn around, but we're still into the 50s and 60s. So we got several days to come in Texas and Oklahoma and New Mexico and Arkansas of some really nice weather. And then of course 40s the farther north you live, but that continues to press into the southeast. And by the time we get into that Saturday morning time frame, now the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast will start feeling the effects of some of that colder air as it continues pushing off the eastern seaboard. There's your setup for Saturday. There's the front. You can finally say, hey, it's going to be pretty much clearing the coast, but man, look at all that clearing back behind it still. So there's not much on the table to contend with back behind this front, as we have several nice days. Even by the time we wake up on Sunday morning, even low 60s in Texas, we'll take that all day long into Louisiana, and parts of the southeast continues to stay into the 50s with that drier air continue to drain in. So we're finally going to shut off the taps into the southeast, where they really need a rapid dry out in a big way, and we're going to get it. But we have to wait for that front to bring us that relief, and that will dry the air back behind that front for the southeast. There's a setup for Sunday. There's the cold front, right? I mean, everybody gets into the action with this cold front, at least in some form or format, and going to feel the effects. The only people that are not going to really feel it is Central Florida and Southern Florida, right? I mean, but everybody else is going to feel the impact from this front. Out ahead of it, there's the drier air that filters in. We had the rain at the Pacific Northwest for the rest of the week. We're more or less drying out. It's fairly dry with this front back behind it. As you can see, there's not much precipitation to work with in parts of Oklahoma and Texas with this front. But out ahead of it, they have a lot more precipitation to work with, where that severe weather they're going to have to be contending with. So we could be looking at multi-inch rains for this week out ahead of that cold front in Indiana, Ohio, portions of Michigan here, and getting up into southeast Canada. But yes, where that cold front stalls, more or less, we're going to be seeing the heaviest rains out ahead of it before it stalls. So right along the coast here into the Carolinas and central and southern Florida are probably going to be your heaviest rains to come this week. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video and definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.